Okay, here's how I use all of the AI features and stuff in DaVinci Resolve to edit a podcast. So before I open the project up, I just want to show you the capture method. So using the RØDECaster video, this is just an example of how I'm capturing the podcast to a single hard drive. So everything's synchronized. You don't have to have this, but this makes things easier. So if you just watch this, I have it set up in the studio here. This is for the leadership podcast that I'm helping produce, but this was a guest we just had on the show, and the main goal is to make sure everything goes to one hard drive because that makes it easier to edit and post. So you can see I'm switching the cameras. That's more of me monitoring the cameras. It does create a timeline file I can go back and re-edit, but I don't use that. That's more just me to make sure that the cameras are working. So that's how that's being done. So now that that's been shown, what it produces, what it kicks out, the RØDECaster video, and the ATEM Mini ISO does the same thing, is it creates these, whatever video files you have in there, it creates these files. So I have the first one, second one, third one, and fourth one. Okay, so that's all 4 files. And then it does create an audio track of every single armed track that's in there. I just keep the last 2, which is the HDMI and the live mix. I found that the HDMI seems to be the cleanest signal. The live mix can have things like compression added to it, so I avoid that. So HDMI, I have the audio running through the camera with a DJI microphone to make it easier to capture the audio. Okay. Then I recorded an outro, obviously, for the episode right there. Fritz did a great job. He was the host on this podcast. And that's kind of the main material I need to work with here. So I have the project file folder here. I've created the project in Resolve, named it the same as the folder, so it's easy to find. And then the next step is just to drag in the original media folder that I've created that has all the assets in it that I need from the RØDECaster video. I'm going to change the frame rate and everything so it matches the same. And then I'm going to create a new bin, call it 02 timelines. And then I'm going to create a bin inside here called 01 full. That's the full episode. That's the full podcast. Okay. So if I go in here and right click on this, create new timeline using selected clips on that first camera angle. If you have this checked on project settings, it may or may not follow the right rules. What I do is I go and uncheck this and make sure that the format is in the same as the camera, which was 1080p. So 1920 by 1080, 30 frames per second. I'm going to go ahead and click create. It's going to create the timeline here. And now you can see I have a video timeline here of camera A, or the main camera, camera 1. Take this timeline, I'm going to call it 01 full. And I'm using underscores there just to make it so it has a space. Drag that into the full timeline. And then I can just take these and drag them on top. So every single video clip, I'm going to make sure they stay linked, just needs to be dragged in here. So I have 4 total cameras, and the cameras are set up on tripods. I'm using D to deselect, but we have the main camera, the host cam, the guest cam, and the close guest cam. Okay. The first thing I do once I have the timeline built is I just save. So I'm Command or Control S to save frequently. But I need to add the audio track now. So I'm going to use this HDMI 1, which is the DJI microphones are plugged into the camera, capturing the speaker in the stereo mode. So the left channel is the guest or the host, and the right channel is the guest or the host. I don't know because I just give them the microphones and we figure it out in post. So these are all synchronized. So what I like to do is create 2 tracks of the HDMI audio, which is the audio, and right now it's the exact same. But if you right click on the first one and go to clip attributes, go to audio, change it so it's in stereo channel 1 only. Now it's the channel 1, so it's made the left audio fill both headphones essentially, and now this is the one of the speakers. So I'm going to go to the right, this one below, do the same thing, clip attributes, change this to channel 2, and now you can see I have what looks like what's called checkerboarding, where it goes here to here, back and forth. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this and change the color of the timeline, so I know that the audio tracks are different, just like that. Now we have a blue and an orange. I don't know who is who yet, and I also generally speaking, keep these clips up here of these audio tracks. However, these tracks are technically the same tracks that are the live mix. So I don't need these tracks inside here. So I'm going to unlink with this little link button. I'm going to click all of these. And the reason I don't delete them immediately is because if I'm doing a non-RØDECaster video edit, I do keep these because they help me synchronize with audio. So if these were all, random cameras shooting at different times, auto-align clips with waveform is how I'd synchronize those, and you just clap at the beginning or something. And a little trick I've had over the years is for the entirety of the audio recording, if you have like a little audio recorder or your phone even, just hit record in the voice memos app, never stop the recording. You can basically manually sync everything to that one master track as if it were time code. So it's a really great feature, and more people should use it. I'm sure everyone's using it. I don't know. But anyways, I'm going to delete these tracks here. I'm just showing you deleting them all. And then I'm going to take these. I'm going to go to the very beginning. So I'm going to hit up on the arrows. So it goes to the very beginning, or you can hit home on your keyboard if that works. Highlight them, hold shift, and move them up to the closest to the video tracks. So now you can see I have these two. I'm going to save again. And what I want to do next is I'm actually going to duplicate this. So I'm going to go duplicate timeline right here in the timeline. The reason I do this is because I like having a 100% working synchronized timeline. Sometimes you can do stuff and screw things up, and then it's like, oh man, what happened? You don't want to do that. So having a redundancy is nice. Okay, I need to figure out who is what. So I'm going to go down and jog down here. I'm going to figure out, I'm going to click solo and figure out who is who.
Dave Peterson left behind.
Okay, so this guy his name's Mark. So let's go 01 Mark full. That's his full audio, okay? I'm guessing this is Fritz. So let's go down here and see if this is the host.
To a super.
Yep, that's the host. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to call this one 02 host. Okay, so now we have, well, I'm going to call him Fritz because I know who it is, but Fritz, there we go. And I'm going to call this full. Sorry, I'm like doing two things at once. Okay, next thing I do once I have that all figured out is I go through and I want to make sure that the cameras all look the same. And they are set to the same settings, but they are different. They're all Lumix G7s. I think this one is a Lumix G85. But they have a little bit different lenses on them, so there's a little bit different color profiles. Since it's going to web, I'm going to click on the little gear down here, go to color management, change the output color space to, I'm going to show you how this changes, Rec 709A, and that will make it a little bit washed out. And you need to go through and fix that so it doesn't happen for the export. And that's accounting for screens that go to the internet. So I'm in the color tab here down at the bottom. I'm going to make a new node by hitting Option S. And what I want to do is I want to take this first node. I want to control some of the highlights and things like that. So I just come over here to highlights in the bottom left. I just pull it down a little bit to just make it less harsh. Maybe bump up this gamma, which is the mid-tones. And then pull those highlights down a little bit more. Bring the saturation down just a little bit. Punch up some highlights here. Maybe bump the saturation up just a little bit. Bring the shadows down a hair. See if that looks pretty good. Okay, and then I'm going to do a little bit of adjustment here on the top and the bottom just to give it a little bit more moodiness so it focuses on the guests and the host. I'm going to create this box, and this is just style, so this doesn't really actually matter. I'm zooming out by rolling the center mouse wheel and just kind of cleaning this up a little bit so it looks nicer for the export. So this is just going to make it so it's less intense. I'm going to invert this mask and bring the overall exposure down and the overall highlights down and bring it down just so it's a little moodier and doesn't have quite that harshness in the top and the bottom. Now you don't have to do this, but it does feel like I feel like it makes the set look a little bit nicer as you push and pull things. You can always get this in camera, but these little small adjustments can be made after the fact. You can fix it in post, if you will. So you can see that the before and after of that is not a significant change, but it's enough to make it go, I guess it looks better like this. Who knows? Sometimes it looks better the other way. So let's go to the next clip. And let's enable that clip and let's match the camera. So this looks a little bit more red. A little bit more red just because that camera is going through a plane of glass that's in the teleprompter. That is kind of distorting the the camera the color a little bit. So we're going to go through and do the same thing. We're going to actually bump this up. It's a little bit darker. The exposure, I'm just rolling the mouse on that, bringing the highlights down a little bit. Balancing out the tint. Looks like the RGB parade on the right has a little bit of, looks like green, magenta. There we go. Pull this up a little bit higher. And this is just all kind of by eye. You know, there's people who claim there's a science to it, and there is. The red, green, blues, if they're all exactly balanced, it means it's a balanced image. So I can bring the reds down or up, and you can see it adjusts the color. Make this a little bit brighter. But ultimately, you're just trying to make them look good, and no one really cares how you do that. Just make it, just move it around until it looks like it's similar to the other shot. Do the same thing to this one. I'm going to go through and do a little bit of adjustment here. This kind of plain wall here does feel a little bit extreme, a little bit intense, you know. So I'm going to bring this here, bring this down, do the same thing. Just kind of bring the attack out of there a little bit so it's not so strong. And this is a gradient tool, so it does have kind of a gradient effect. So it doesn't make it so harsh. You don't want to make things noticeable. A good editor won't make you notice it's edited, I guess. Sorry, I'm just coughing to the microphone here. Same thing on this side, just kind of giving it a little bit of roll off here so it's a little bit less intense. And then I'm just creating new boxes for each single mask. You could say, hey, there's like 1,000 better ways to do this, and you know, honestly, as long as it's done fast, people don't really care. You can use HSL secondary and stuff like that on the skin tones, and you know, check the skin tone wheel. But I mean, if that's correct, if you have correct white balance in your camera and you have good exposure, everything should line up here on the red, green, blue parade. I'm not going to get into, you know, if we need to correct skin and stuff, but this is looking pretty nice. It's a little bit harsh. I'm just going to pull this down a little bit. There we go. This is all, once again, if you have like really fancy lenses and stuff, you can get this to look exactly the same across all the cameras. This is taking me a few seconds to do this, so it's worth saving the money on lenses, in my opinion. And let's bring the exposure down on this just a little bit so it's not so bright. There we go. There we go. That one. Let's go to the next one. This is going to be a little bit more washed out because the lens is different. This one I would probably add a little bit of saturation. Let's bring some of that blue out. There we go. It's a little bit heavy on the blue. Bring this up, bring the shadows down. And I'm just trying to add some contrast here without making it look like it's artificial or weird. You don't want people too moody or too overexposed. There's the Amy Poehler Good Hang podcast has, I swear, the worst coloring. Whoever's working on that one, I swear they're intentionally making it bad. Like, I don't know what they're thinking, but it looks terrible. Like the color, and you know, to each their own, but the color looks terrible on that podcast. And it's supposed to look bright and happy, I guess, but it feels like they didn't know how to add a LUT to log footage or something. Anyways, this is all Rec 709 coming out of the RØDECaster, and it does have some noise. You can see there's noise in the image.
Provisor.
That's fine. No one's going to worry about that. You know, everyone's like perfect ISO, perfect this. Doesn't matter. What matters is that you have good composition, good initial lighting, and just make it look and feel natural, like you're there, and it's not overly done. There we go. Right there. It's looking pretty nice, and then we'll probably apply those settings from that one to this one. So if I look from here to here, those look pretty good. It's a little bit bright still, so I'm gonna bring them, and that's where I'm doing that comparison, just bringing the highlights down just a hair. That's looking pretty good. Remember, people's skin tone's all different, so you can't have a science that's perfect. Last one is this close cam, so you can see the difference in color here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy with Command C on this layer, turn this one on, Option V, and I can paste the color profile that the correction I just did to this one, and now it's added the same adjustments. And if I look inside here, I can see that the masks are even in the same spots relative to how he's framed, so it's kind of nice. It worked out really well. I would say that's a win. Okay, maybe move this over a little bit so it's not quite so close. And we had a hair light on his hair. Looks good. I'd say it's a little bit hot on the exposure, so I'm gonna bring this down just a hair. And now we have a little much, let's add contrast here. I'd rather add saturation, sorry, not contrast. There. And let's A/B test that one. That's much better. Okay. Now we have all these balanced. Okay. So the reason you want to do that before you do any kind of AI cutting or anything is because it does it through the entirety of the clip from beginning to end. And this is like almost an hour long. So it's nice having the color done all the way throughout. And you can always go back and highlight each track and adjust the color all at once. But that's like the most efficient way to go through and just get the color right from the get-go. See, there's that hair light on there. It's nice kicking. This we don't have a hair light on this side, but we could probably add one. But that's the color all balanced. It's called color correction, not color grading. I'm just correcting the color. And what we're going to do next is we're going to checkerboard the audio, is what it's called. So this is a new feature. If you go to the Fairlight tab at the bottom, I have these two people that talk. I've got Mark, which is the orange, and Fritz, which is the blue. And I want to make it so that there's no, it's called phasing. And since they're sitting close to each other, the microphones on their chests are going to have some bleed. And you can see that this right here is called audio bleed. It's where it's capturing the speaker on this side. So it's like you don't want this here. You want only this and not this. And there's instances where they may react throughout these, so you do have to go through and manually make sure that things are not being removed. So what it does is actually retains this clip and it adds a new clip below. So it's probably going to add three new tracks, because I'm talking at the beginning as a producer in the room, and it'll add me as a speaker, then it'll add two more speakers, which are the host and the guests, and those are the ones we want to work with. So really quick, let me take this first one, which is Mark, right click, go to AI tools and checkerboard to new tracks. And this can take a minute for the first track, so I might pause here and come back, but my computer is an M1 Max, so it's a little bit older now. It's pushing 4.5 years of heavy use. The GPU is how fast this can think. Since this is an hour-long podcast, it's going to analyze all the audio, and once it's analyzed the audio once, it'll do it almost instantly on the rest of the track. So it's worth waiting for the first one. So I'm going to pause this, and then I'll come back here once it's done. Okay, so now it's almost finished. It's analyzed the clip. It's going to shoot out 3, maybe 4 clips, but this is at the very end of the analysis. So it's called checkerboarding. It's going to break them up into separate audio tracks. And there we go. Okay, so we have these 3 tracks here. What I need to do next is I have this one that I labeled. I need to go through and identify which one is Mark. Okay, so I'm zooming in and out with the plus and minus. I'm going to come down here at the beginning, because it's easier to come down the beginning here. And I'm going to find which one's which. So I'm guessing, I'm going to go with the long ones, because the short ones, we don't know what it is, but once it gets in the flow here, I'm pretty sure it's one or the other. So I'm going to hit solo on this one and see if it's the correct audio track.
Mark, I'm so glad to have you on.
So that's not the one I want. Let's see if this one is it right here.
Your oldest living.
There it is. There he is. So this one is the only one I want to keep. So I'll go 0, 1, Mark, cut. Okay. So I know that's the same. Actually, I'll make this 0, 2 because we're making the second track. Okay. So what I do now is I take these 2 tracks, which it made because it assumed it was the only microphone, and I'm going to delete them. So delete these tracks. Now I have I have this version of Mark's which has all of the gaps cut out. Really fast and easy. See right here, there's a lot of talking back and forth. Need the same thing for Fritz's audio. So I'm going to click on this and go to AI Tools, Checkerboard to new tracks. Watch how fast it goes when it's already analyzed. Boom, instantly. Back to home. Go back in. I believe that this upper one, we'll see. We'll hit solo on this.
Welcome to Analog.
There we go. That's the one we want. So we'll do 0, 3, Fritz, cut. Okay. Now these other 2, which is the outside one and this one, I can delete. Delete those tracks, and let's double check I have the correct one. So we'll hit solo on both of these.
Tell our audience a little bit about you.
Well, other than I'm one of your oldest.
There we go. Got it. So we can just minimize these down. And what I'll use these for is to recover any audio. For example, right here, he's done something where he talks.
I mean, we went to school.
he laughs right here. And I'll show you in a minute how I recover those things, because there's a couple ways to do what's called a gate filter, but I would rather not do that. I'd rather make it come in when it's supposed to. 'Cause sometimes someone coughs or sniffs, like, and you don't want that in there, so you can have it inherently removed from the beginning and then add it after the fact. But the last thing I'll do here is I'll add audio adjustments to these two tracks. So I have the cut tracks. So I have a track, here they are down here. We have mark cut. So we're gonna go here, track 2. I'm gonna add a little bit of compression, and that's just to give the sound more consistent sound throughout. And if you have really nice audio treatment in the room and stuff, which we do, it sounds pretty good to begin with. And then I do make the threshold like 3 to 2, -3, -2, maybe more, just because this room is a little bit louder.
We have known each other a
I'll turn this down so it's not so loud for you watching.
long time.
There we go. Let's bring this down.
Time.
You'll find that people's voices resonate differently too.
So I'm a keynote speaker, an author,
Okay.
a facilitator.
It's looking pretty, a little boomy. So now I have the compression figured out. I'm gonna go ahead and copy that compression and paste it over here and see how Fritz. Oh, sorry, he's on this one. Paste it here. See how it sounds on his.
And
Let's jump over.
You know, I love the term humanity. I was an hourly worker for the majority of my starting part of my career, and then was promoted to a supervisor.
Yeah, it sounded pretty good there. I don't need that one. But EQ is the next thing I do. And what I want to do first is remove top and bottom frequencies that aren't the human voice. So here we're going to listen to his voice and see if we can find the right frequencies
A
for
little bit
it.
about you.
well, other than I'm one of
So let's roll this up.
your oldest living friends, is what that kind of sounds
Let's bring this up a little bit.
like. Is that we have known each other a long time.
Okay, now I'm going to go through and find the middle frequency. If you use number 4 on the EQ, you can actually peak it up like this and find this really terrible sounding noise. So watch this.
I'm a keynote.
Starts to like break the speakers. So you go here and you change this band to a dip, and it deletes that sound.
Well, other than I'm one of your oldest living friends, is what that kind of sounds like. Is that we
And bring the levels down a little bit so it's not peaking.
have known each other a long time. So I'm a keynote speaker.
Yeah, it looks pretty good there. And then the last treatment I'll do once the EQ has been done on his voice is I'll add this tool that I like to use. It's a restoration tool I bought called D-Room. I forgot who makes it, but it's called D-Room 2, and it removes the echo from any of the room.
Well, other than I'm one of your
I'm just taking the noise reduction down.
oldest living friends, is what that kind of sounds like.
That sounds good. That's not necessary, but I like adding that effect in at the end, just as a final pass to clean things up. Let's do the EQ on Fritz's voice real quick. The reason I don't just use pre-baked in things is because the mic placement does change every single episode, so that does change where that lands. So I'm going to turn these back on, top and bottom, rein them in a little bit. I know Fritz is going to have a little bit more boomy. I know his voice better than the guests.
You know, I love
Let's bring this down. Let's bring his treble up.
the term
You can see where it's going on this graph.
humanity. I was an hourly worker for the majority of my starting part of my career, and then was promoted to a supervisor.
Okay, now let's find that middle frequency that's bad. Ready?
You know, I love the term humanity. I was an
There's it's called resonance or something. Pull that out.
hourly worker for the majority of my starting
Now let's hear the sound. Let's
part of my
check the
career,
levels.
and then was promoted to a supervisor.
Let's hear this.
The value from a hard dollar standpoint, as well as just a better workplace environment of treating people like people when they come to work and not just like positions.
You know, I love the term humanity.
You see the importance, the value.
Okay, that sounds good. Let's add the D-Room to this one. Restoration. D-Room. Everyone's got their own little audio stack they do of how to clean up audio. This sounds pretty good to me.
I was there to do a job. And
Looks good. We can use voice ISO as well, which is that AI tool. I tend to hold off on that until the very end. Sometimes it's necessary, sometimes it isn't. In this instance, I'm just going to leave it as a turned off feature because it can do more harm than good sometimes. There's not a lot of noise in this room to begin with, so we're not going to worry about that too much. The other tracks, the full tracks, all I do on those is just bring the volume up a little bit. And since they're very short and they're very quick blips, I don't worry about EQing them as much because they're more just being added to the mix as almost a sound effect or response or reaction type thing. So those full tracks I'm not going to do as much fiddling around on, even though I could copy the settings over. Sometimes you want the reaction to be quieter and less pronounced. So this is mainly to make their soundstage as broad as possible and really pull the sound from these microphones in the best way I can, because they're small, but I'm making them sound as good as I can. All right, so let's bring those down. I do want to see the waveform still so I can see where stuff is, and then let's pull these up a little bit, and that's just so I can see. Okay, now this is the next magical AI thing. So the next thing I do is I like to use AutoPod to edit these down to a rough cut. So if I go to Workspace, and if you install AutoPod, if you don't know how, they'll have some tutorial somewhere how to install it. But here's how I use it. So AutoPod Multicamera Editor, it'll pop up with this window, and you have to pay for this. It's a stupid monthly subscription, but in my opinion, it's worth it because it does get you, I would say, 70% of the way there. Cutting method, I would do enable, disable because I don't like losing information. That's where you turn the clips on and off like I've been doing, like light switches. These are all disabled. I don't want to just delete and add clips. Wide shot frequency I set to medium. I feel like that's the best way to use this wide shot, is to have it break away to this because it's a safe landing spot. There's 2 speakers talking on this podcast. There are 4 cameras, okay? Delaying the cuts is just something you can tweak and adjust based on how fast things move. The lower it is, the faster it cuts. If someone starts talking, the term video follows audio is where like the video cuts the same time. Sometimes you want a little bit what's called a J or an L cut, where it has like a delay. It almost like takes a second to get there. And that's kind of how people naturally look back and forth when they're talking in a conversation, is your head has a delay to get to the other person, or your eyes. So you're trying to simulate how a human would pay attention. You're not trying to make it like a robot, okay? Audio 1, this is where we need to make sure we're using the right information. So this is a little adjustment here I have to do, is I have to take these 2 tracks, and this is just temporary. I'm going to move them down. So let me go home. This is something just particular to this software, this script. And I'm going to take these 2 and move them up all the way. And you'd be like, why? Well, it's going to cut based on these audio tracks, and it's only looking for audio tracks 1 and 2, which are in the timeline. And since this doesn't know, those are on tracks 4 and 5, it's dumb. It doesn't think. You're thinking for it. We need to move these up. So once I get this to cut, I'll restore these back to where they were in their original positions. I know this is kind of inefficient, but this is just working around the AI. Okay. So now we have audio 1 and 2 lined up, and audio 1, I believe, is Mark. Let's see. Let me turn these off and turn these on, these solos.
You bet. Mark Carpin.
There's Mark. And then here is Fritz.
We're on, we're good.
Okay, good. Got that one figured out.
Uh,
I'm not on a call. I'm just doing a tutorial. You can.
I want to just work outside.
Okay. I'm just finishing this tutorial quick.
Okay.
Okay, so we have audio 1 is Mark. 01 Mark. Audio 2 is Fritz. Okay, so video 1, this is where it's important to have these lined up. So when you have audio 1, audio 2, you're telling the video where it should cut. So it doesn't know, but now I've told it that the first audio track, the orange one, is the guest, Mark, and audio 2 is Fritz, the host. Okay, so I know who they are, but you'll know who your people are if you're editing that. So I'm going to go video 1. If I look at video 1, it's all speakers, so it's the wide. Video 2, if I look at that one, is going to be Fritz. Video 3 is going to be Mark. And video 4 is going to be a close-up of Mark. Okay, awesome. So that's important to have. And once you have that set up, your timeline here that you're on, it's going to duplicate a protected version of this and edit this one. So it's going to process everything, and it's not going to delete this version I have. So just be aware, it's not going to delete everything, but I'm just going to do a real quick sync check to make sure everything's synchronized, to make sure we have what we need.
Mark, Carp.
Okay. Let's check this.
Fritz Black.
Okay, there we go. Got those. Okay. I'm going to go create multicam edit, and this is where I'm always nervous. Like, did I set things up correctly? So I go through and scan again, enable, disable, wide shot, medium, 2 speakers, 4 cameras, delays on cuts, audio tracks are set correctly. If you set this wrong, you can always just do it again. It just, I don't want to wait all that time for it to process. Just like how the audio had to process, this has to process as well. So video track 1, I'm just going to triple check all my things here. Mark. Okay. Click create multicam edit. And what this will do is it'll process the footage. Okay. And once it's processed the footage in the renderer, it has basically a transcript it's pulling from the audio, I think. And it's going to make cuts in real time with a script, with AI. So it's somehow leveraging the software, and like people using OpenClaw and Claude and stuff like that are getting to this point. But this costs $20 a month, whereas the tokens to do that with OpenClaw could cost anywhere from $100 to $300 just to get one video to edit. So they're probably wasted a ton of tokens building this tool, and it was probably vibe coded together for all I know. I don't know. AutoPod, if you're out there, how do you do it? I don't know. I'm using it, but here it is. So once this is finished, if you like the preset you've made, you can save it as a preset. I don't really save presets because sometimes things change in the studio. Like, a camera has been moved to shoot a top down or something, or this has changed, or the set has changed. I do a neighborhood podcast for fun, and that changes every time. So like that's one where I'm like, okay, if I'm editing this podcast, the variables could change, the number of cameras could change, and those things changing constantly makes it so presets can be more annoying than helpful, because you're working around something that worked for a specific room and setup and everything. So now that's gone through a process, you can watch in real time. It's going to cut these clips based on enabled and disabled clips. And what this does, it's just multicam camera editing, old school camera editing. It's going through, and what I've found is like it does a pretty decent job of giving you a first pass. The reason this isn't good enough for delivery is because the face, the eye line, the context, what's being referred to, it doesn't know what stuff means all of the time. And conversations tend to have a flow to them that sometimes is interrupted by a cut. So a good editor, once again, like I said, is able to get out of the way and doesn't get in the way of the shots. Those types of things I try to be cognizant of. You'll also notice I didn't change any of the framing of the cameras. Sometimes I'll have like cameras a little bit crooked, don't want to straighten them out. Generally I'll do that in the color step, so it's like the whole entire clip's being straightened. Now that it's chopped up, I would have to go and highlight the layer all at once and fix the alignment on all of them, which I might do. So that's something where if you're making a tutorial like this, you can like skip things you normally do. So let's wait for this to finish. It's going to go through pretty quickly because it's editing it through clip by clip. And if I were to zoom out, you can see it's probably halfway. Yeah, it's about halfway done. Really cool technology. I mean, this is no more complex than the audio follows video concept, but it's leveraging multiple cameras beyond just 2. So I like that. All right. The RØDECaster video has a feature that does this too, but this is actually better, and this is a good use of AI so far. So far we've leveraged internal AI tools, The audio cleanup is a machine learned tool that removes the room tone. We'll use the transcribe tool in a second here, and that's more to help with the shorts content. So this has all so far just been long form editing, right? Just making sure it's long form edited. I won't show you the full edit, but I'll show you how I find those reactions in a second, and add them in. And generally speaking, I'll rearrange the audio back so it's paired up, but I don't know if it matters. As long as it looks and sounds good, no one's going to care. My editing process is always adapting and changing a little bit based on what's the most efficient way to do it. I'm not trying to be married to only one way. So you can see that this is something I'm still learning. Okay, but overall, podcasts don't need tons of cuts and edits, but it can help the show move along if you have a visual audience, people that are watching and being engaged. Obviously, there's 1,000 ways to do this. This is my way. Okay. I could pause this, but I'm going to let you watch the whole thing because this is what it is. And for some shows, you might be able to just export this, and that might be the end. The reason I go through and watch it is because I want to make sure that the cuts were done. All of the cuts were done are being inspected, that they're the right cuts. And you'll hear people talking about vibe coding with AI, and this is vibe editing, I guess, using a tool like this. But I am still auditing and doing quality control. So why would someone want to work with you, Jordan, on this? Why are they working with you? Well, I care about quality. So efficiency you don't have to sacrifice quality for efficiency. I think a lot of people think that you can sacrifice quality in the sake of more efficiency, but you'll find that people don't want to watch or consume anything that's super low quality because it ends up feeling like a waste of time. So I will watch this entire interview. So I was there recording this, so I did sit through the entire interview and made sure everything was working. I want to make sure that everything was working in post the same. So I'm going to pretend I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go through and watch the entire timeline. So just watching how long this recording is. It always ends up being like an hour, no matter what I do. These tools are also changing. It's likely that Davinci Resolve will create some kind of AutoPod multicam editor tool internally and completely destroy this market. That's also partially why I don't spend a lot of time trying to build tools with AI, because the company's going to just walk in and just say, we did it better, it's in the software, there you go. Also, why would you use Davinci Resolve over a cloud editing service? Like there's a bunch of services now you can upload your footage to, and they'll edit it for you like this. Well, the main thing is, right now, everything you're seeing, I own offline. This editor, requires an internet connection to do the cuts and things like that. But I can make these cuts without AutoPod. So if there's ever a budgetary, change, if things change, pricing changes on this, if this went to $200 a month, which happens with AI tools, I can just use Davinci Resolve still. I don't have the cost of a subscription to use this software. I completely ditched using Adobe products because of the subscription model. So I don't use any Adobe products because I don't want to pay a monthly subscription to have access to my project files, which means I don't own them and I'm renting them from the company, if that makes sense. So I'm pretty anti-subscriptions if they aren't necessary, because it just bleeds money out of your account needlessly. The other reason I like using Davinci Resolve is it's easier to work with other editors. So if like an editor or a client or a company, needs to open their project, they can open it for free because they have the free version of Davinci Resolve, and it has all the other free things in there that they can still access. It wouldn't have all the plugins I've added, things like that, but they still have their main edit. And I think that's important. People own what they pay for. I don't like people renting their project files from Adobe or from anyone. So AutoPod does elegantly give me access without renting. Okay, so it's finished. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to close this, And what I'm going to do next here is I'm going to make sure I'm in the correct. There we go. So there's the media files thing. So it's made this backup of the other project that's not changed. So this is the one that it just edited. So I'm going to duplicate this one and call it 03. And the reason I want this, there we go. I'm going to move these audio tracks back. So I'm going to pull, actually, do we just leave them? We just leave them for now. Let's see what happens. Maybe I like it this way. Who knows? I know this was the intro. We need to jump to the opening.
Welcome to Al.
Okay, there's the open. That's when he started. And I have an intro slate and everything we'll add at the end once the edit's finished. I won't have to show that, but I'm going to delete all of this out of here. Okay, let's go here. We can mute those, unmute those. They're disabled. I can delete all of this. And I'm not doing a ripple edit quite yet because I don't want to screw up the sync. So I'm going to hit A, which selects everything forward from the playhead. That's how I have it mapped. There's a different key command in Resolve that I used. Anyways.
Welcome to Al.
Okay, now this intro, I do want this to be closer, so I'm going to zoom in just a hair. And I do turn on the center marker so I can see where the center of the frame is, just so you can see this. That's the center marker. That's a really great thing they've added. I'm going to zoom in here and move this so it's centered up for the opening. You're like, whoa, you're zooming in on footage. That's artificial zoom. It's not no one cares. All right, let's see how that looks.
Welcome to Analog Leader. Our guest today is Mark.
Okay, so let's go ahead.
Today is Mark.
Let's go to Mark.
Director.
And I'm going to adjust Mark's camera angle here a little bit just to make it a little bit better. Zoom a little bit. Let's center him up just a hair. I just want to give him a little bit of breathing room. Then I'm going to get the rotation. I like using this to rotate the angle, kind of using the wall as a guide. Okay, now this is what I was telling you. I'm going to hit Command C to copy that movement. This is video layer 3, so I'm just going to highlight the entire video layer 3. Option V, and I just need to take rotation scale. I don't need color because it's already been added. And these are the things: position, rotation, and zoom and scale. This is kind of confusing when you first use it, but those are the things I've been I changed. I'm going to apply. Now all of those clips have been adjusted so that he has his set up the right way. See that? So
Mark forever.
Let's go. Let's see.
And welcome to Analog Leader. Our guest today is Mark Carpenter.
Okay, I'm going to cut here.
Mark.
And let's go to the wide. I'm going to do ripple, delete there. This is to be the pacing right. Here we go. Now it's a wide.
Our
guest today
is Mark Carpenter. Mark, I'm so glad to have you on the set today. You and I have known each other forever. I mean, we went to school.
Okay, you heard him laugh in that. So that was what I was getting at. So
together.
Let's bring this down a hair.
I remember the first time I met you.
Okay, so when he laughed, I want that back in.
Each other forever.
Okay, so I'm going to do blade tool. I'm just going to cut, turn it back on.
Ever. I mean, we went to school together.
And then I'm going to jump to him talking. Let's see, so it's going to be this one.
Remember the first time
And this is where I don't want this thing zoomed in. So now I'm going to figure out, okay, where's Fritz's angle need to be? Or where does the host need to be? Let's do a little bit of adjustment here. Let's rotate it so it's a little straighter. And once again, you can get this in camera. You can. It's just, usually you're focused on 100 things and you're trying to produce something, in a room. Let's copy this over and let's add it to the rest of the track here, but not the very beginning. So we'll go here to the playhead. And then we'll add this. So Option V, don't need the color, and paste that. So now we have this dialed in. The wide cam looks good.
I remember the first time I met you was probably in like 5th grade.
Jump to him.
And
we'll go back to him here.
Been a friend since then, so I'm excited to have you here.
So yeah, I'm making changes based on this intro because it's got a lot more dynamic stuff than what the AutoPod did.
Thank you for coming on. I'm excited to have you here. Thank you.
Now I'll go to the wide. So that's where I need this to go wide, see?
I'm excited to have you here. Thank you for coming on. Tell our audience a little bit about you.
Well, other than I'm one of your oldest living friends.
He might laugh there, so let's see what happens here.
This is what that kind of sounds like
He's got laughing there. So I'm going to go here, here, turn this on, bring this volume down, because laughing isn't something you want to interrupt the speaker.
What that kind of sounds like.
Back here again.
We have known each other a long time.
And now I don't like that punching in there, so move that down.
A long time. So I'm a keynote speaker, an author, a facilitator.
I'm going to fix this camera angle now. This is the last one to fix. Is just I think the bookshelf is straight, but the wall's crooked, so it feels a little weird. So I'm going to center this up, punch in, and just straighten this up. And this is just showing those final touches. You can't just use the AI for everything, because there is you have to have taste still. So, or you don't. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, tell me. But I think this is the way to do it. Let's straighten this out a little bit more. There we go. Now he looks and feels he's really centered up here, but that's kind of was intentional because of the social edits. Shot these a little bit wider than normal so I can make social media cuts, which would be the next thing I show.
And I'm on a mission to help us bring greater humanity back into business leadership.
Okay, let's keep I'm going to change this cut here.
To help us bring greater humanity back into business leadership. I help leaders see the importance, the value from a hard dollar standpoint, as well as
I'm saving the project so I know.
A better workplace environment of treating people like people when they come to work and not just like positions.
I love the term humanity. I was an hourly worker for the...
Okay, so you can see I just kind of finessed that a little bit, but I've added these two reactions back in there. You can kind of anticipate them by saying they're like right here and here. You can kind of see them happen in the tracks, these little spikes. And what I'll do is I'll go through and just kind of like turn them on and kind of almost predict what's going to happen by reading the audio. And this could be him sniffing or coughing or laughing. I don't know. But sometimes you want to, sometimes you don't. So that's why you go through and you audit the tracks. But it's way better than going and doing a bunch of adjustments that normally would happen. That's way harder. So this is way efficient. The last thing I do as far as this is I watch the whole thing, and then I make my cuts accordingly, which are enabling and disabling tracks. And when it's time for social media stuff, I like to transcribe the entire video. So let's pretend this was finished now. Let's say that all these cuts are correct. I have this opening and everything. To make social media edits, this is the last thing I want to show you because this is really important. Right now, this is a full widescreen video. It runs through, it has cuts. It's really cool. Watch it back because you might be like, I don't want that close there. I don't want that wide there. Generally speaking, I try to, keep people's cadence uninterrupted. Select your track. I have full here. I'm going to go back to the timelines bin, create a new bin, 02 social. Okay, and what I do is I duplicate this full edit, and it's less important that you have a finished video here, so I'm just going to do this with this one. I just hit Command J to duplicate it. Drag it into social. It's now a separate one. I'm going to call this one 01 social. And I can pull all my socials from this. Okay, so I'm saving that. You click this transcribe. You click on the timeline. Click the transcribe button up in the top left. It's going to go through and transcribe. Since it already processed everything, it's going to have a transcript of everything. Okay, so what I do next is I highlight all the text and copy, and then I go to ChatGPT. Here we go. Create the first social media cut from this video. I need a section that is only 20 seconds up to 50 seconds. We will create more after this first one. Do not change any I usually talk to a microphone doing this, but I'm just typing it so it doesn't screw up because it's going to OBS. Use what was said verbatim. And I can't spell, so let's dialogue. It doesn't really care, but and then I'm going to paste the transcript in here. Boom. And it's going to take a second to pull all this transcript in. And you may have to redo this prompt as it starts to hallucinate, but now the text is in there. And we have, I don't know what the newest one is. I guess this is the highest one. They all suck. But let's see what it does. It's going to think of our first social media clip cut to get. And while it's thinking, we need to change this timeline. Okay, so it's thinking right here. I'll come back to this in a second. We need to fix this so it's not weird. Okay, so first of all, this is in landscape. We need to change it. So we right click on it, go to timelines, timeline settings. Check the use vertical resolution, and that just makes it so it's going to be vertical. It's going to change how this program looks. Okay, and now I'm going to zoom out of this. I now have all of this here, and we can now edit in a social format. All right, sweet. Now I like to move this over so it's like as close to the center as possible, because the ergonomics of looking to the right is just terrible for your neck. So Davinci Resolve, if you're watching this, give me a center view of this. I don't want it to be on the right. I just want it in the middle. I don't watch my phone over here, you know. So let's see here. There we go. Now here's our first social media edit. Okay, so carve out time to talk to. Okay, and this could be good. So let's try this. So I go to the search, paste, search, carve out time. Okay, I'm gonna cut here.
Carve out time.
Oops, a little bit before.
Carve out time.
Here we go. Cut.
Carve out time to talk to and listen to your people on a regular basis. Make that intentional, purposeful time. Not, yeah,
Let's see what it said. Month 1-on-1.
If fit them in, they'll never fit. But you use the number 12. If you try to fit them in, they'll never fit in.
Okay, so there we go. Now I'm going to take this and move it away. Take this and move it into this space so it's separated. And right off the bat, I need to do some adjustments to the cameras so they don't have these weird cuts. All right, so I want to start on him here. Okay, so here we go.
Carve out.
And I want him to be centered up. So let's move him over. Let's zoom out all the way here and see if we can get this to look and feel normal. I like going as wide as possible. And as far as framing goes, remember, there's a bunch of crap on social. It's like cluttered up with all these buttons and stuff. So you have to kind of imagine how much junk is on the screen. And I think there's a safe, you can do like a safe parameters. I don't think they have it on here yet, but that's like the 9:16. I don't know. But anyways, you want to make sure they're in the center of the frame so that you have as much room around as possible. So here we are. I'll do a little bit left because the eye line's kind of heavy that way. And I'll rotate it a little bit so it's just better. And zoom in so that corner is not being lost there. Okay. So I'm going to format that one. And I'm going to apply it to this one. And let's see how this looks.
Carve out time.
And you want to remove, and also one thing I do is I remove all cuts.
Carve out time.
So I'm going to go here, all gaps. And you can remove gaps with AI, but I'm going to do it manually here so I know it's right.
Carve out time to talk to and listen to your people on a regular basis.
Delete that.
On a regular basis. Make that intentional, purposeful time. Not people on a regular basis. Not, yeah, I'll talk.
And let's do this.
Make that intentional people on a regular basis. People on a regular basis. Not, yeah, I'll talk to them when I have time. I'll try to fit them in.
Let's delete that. And then this right here, I'm going to move over so it fits better like that. And then I do want this to bounce to the wide angle here. And like, well, what do you do with that? Well, what I tend to do is I add a background layer of like a paper, like a static paper thing. We'll just use a placeholder for now. Here it is, generators, paper. Just something to give it something to stand on. And then I zoom out so you can see this, zoom it out, and I add it so it's, once again, you want to go above the noise, the digital crap in there. So I kind of land it there. Now you have this wide shot, and if I go here, let's see what it does. Okay, boom, here we go.
Carve out.
Let's cut faster so we start right on it. Ready?
Carve out time to talk to and listen to your people on a regular basis. Not yet your people on a regular basis. Not, yeah, I'll talk to them when I have time. I'll try to fit.
And let's have them react here. So we have the host
fit them in. If you try to fit them in.
Let's get him lined up so he's got as much headroom as possible too. And this is where shooting wide.
I'll try to fit them in. To fit them in. If you try to.
It's kind of a static shot, so I'm going to actually go through and try to find him nodding. There we go. There he's nodding. Let's bring that back. That's going to look a little bit more natural. It's kind of like B-roll now.
I'll try to fit them in. If you try to fit them in.
Let's remove that.
Man, if you try to fit them in, they'll never fit in.
Okay, let's remove that.
Never fit in.
Let's cut there. It's all cut. Now if you watch this back.
Carve out time to talk to and listen to your people on a regular basis. Not, yeah, I'll talk to them when I have time. I'll try to.
You know, I'd rather stay close to him, actually. I don't like that wide shot there.
To talk to and listen to your people on a regular basis. Not, yeah, I'll talk to them when I have time. I'll try to fit them in. If you try to fit them in, they'll never fit in.
I could do the wide shot there, but I like his face in this, so I'm going to keep it close. And you may find that you do something, it doesn't work when you watch it back all the way. Now I'm going to go in and out, I/O, and I'm going to go timeline, AI tools, create subtitles from audio. I'm going to do 18 characters. It seems to work well for social media from what I've found. And this is the end of everything. So I like having all the gaps tied in. I don't like having these gaps open. And then before I go through and watch this and audit the text, go to track. So you click the time, you click this, go to track. I like using pop-ins because it's free, I guess. Bold. And then I'm going to go to subtitles, and then the statement animation seems to work well. It's an AI thing, and then I'm going to make this larger, so 0.1, and then I like moving it up right about here. It depends on the person, but I think right about here seems to be good. So if we go here, it'll be out of the noise once again. It can't be too big because it'll start hitting those buttons and crap that are all in there. So let's watch this and see how it runs.
Carve out time to talk to and listen to your people on a regular basis. Not, yeah, I'll talk to them when I have time. I'll try to fit them in. If you try to fit them in, they'll never fit in.
Cool. That's a really short, but that's basically how I make the shorts. I'd export that. Then what I do is I just take the transcript once again in ChatGPT and I say, what's the next short in the transcript? And it'll tell me the next one, and then I'll go audit it and see how good it is. Now, this is just to try to leverage the large language model, thinking for you type thing. They get recognition twice a month. So I'm going to copy that text there and see if I can find it. And you have to go through and watch these still. And there's other tools out there that will do this automatically, but it's not magic. There's going to be...
Well, they get recognition. How do you recognize them in simple ways? And sometimes people will say to me...
Here we go, sometimes.
And some...
Okay, right here, arrow over. Let's separate that out.
Sometimes people will say to me, well, they get recognition twice a month. It's called a paycheck.
So you cut there.
It's called a paycheck. But I don't look at a paycheck as recognition.
And I'm just trying to get the dialogue fixed here, then I can fix the cuts.
I look at a paycheck twice a month. It's called a paycheck. But I don't look at a paycheck as recognition.
Cut out the gaps.
Let's
delete that, see how that looks.
I look at a paycheck as a fulfillment of a contract. And recognition means
This guy had some great sound bites. Let's go
is
here.
the fulfillment of a contract. And recognition means that I, as the leader, will say to you, hey, I saw.
See, this is pretty easy. I mean, it just takes a while to curate them.
Will say to you, hey, I saw what you did that was great, and I appreciate it.
And sometimes people aren't this well spoken, and you'll have to go through and really doctor it up.
Appreciate it. And it's provided this value for our organization. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here. And then people want to come to work. And it's just simple.
Let's see.
Great. And I appreciate it. And it's provided this value for our organization. Thank you. And then people.
Let's get that added and that thought in there, the final.
Organization. Thank you. And then people want to come to work every day. And it's just.
Let's go there.
And it's just simple actions that you can take as a leader. Now this ties back to listening, that you can take as a leader. Work every day. And it's just simple actions that you can take as a leader.
I like the cadence there. I'm not going to mess it up. And then I'll go through and add the same effects. So I just go over here and copy this and paste it into this angle because I have that figured out now. There we go. And do the same for the cuts now. And let's do this one.
Sometimes people will say to me, well, they get recognition twice a month. It's called a paycheck. But
I mean, I did like his reaction laughing, but I don't want him laughing. I'm just going to have him reacting as like B-roll. Let's see if I can get that.
A paycheck. But
I don't need that there. Let's extend this out.
Called a paycheck. But I don't look at.
And let's set this up. I know I have that one actually dialed, but we can just move it for now.
But I don't look at a paycheck as recognition. I look at.
Let's go back here.
I look at a paycheck as a fulfillment of a contract. And recognition means that
Jump cuts are okay in social because it's all garbage. So, you know, they're empty calories is what people say. So don't kill yourself on socials.
Recognition means that I, as the leader, will say to you, hey, I saw what you did that was great, and I appreciate it. And it's
okay, this is where we want this wide angle to come back. This is where bump everything up. And I tend to do this kind of impromptu if I need it. I bring the paper generator in. I use a video that's like an animated one of like lots of paper moving just to make it more interesting. But let's steal the there it is. It's over here. I think it's this right here. That's the one. And you could do this to all the footage, but you know, I'm just being lazy, so whatever.
And it's provided this value for our organization. Thank you. And then people want to come to work every day. And it's
okay. Now I'm going to go back to him talking.
It's just simple actions that you can take as a leader.
Okay, so now that one is a good one. In, out, and do timeline, same thing. And I'll just finish on this one so you can see that this process, is pretty easy once you've set it up, but it does require some setup. Once again, you own these. You own these files. You own this process. Why am I not selling people on this course? Because no one thinks that people should pay for video anymore, really. So it doesn't really matter if I sold a course because no one's going to pay for it. So go to Full-Time Filmmaker and give them all your money. Who cares? They're not going to show you how to do this. And if they do, I don't know. Maybe they will. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe AI will do everything for us. Okay, so this is this is on the same layer track. It's retained the same information I put in here, so it's nice. So it's now adhered to what it's supposed to. It's supposed to keep everything the same. I don't know why it didn't keep it, but it's supposed to adhere to the same standards I set up here for the fonts and everything. Okay, so let's audit the text.
Sometimes people will say to me, well, they get recognition twice a month. It's called a paycheck. But I don't look at a paycheck as recognition. I look at a paycheck as a fulfillment of a contract. And recognition means that
I want him to punch in there.
Look at a paycheck.
I want that to be
recognition.
Let's make it like this. I want this.
Paycheck. But I don't look at a paycheck
punch
as
in there.
Recognition.
I want the punch in there, yeah, because that feels like it's now more focused. Okay.
Recognition. I look at a paycheck as a fulfillment of a contract. And recognition means that I, as the leader, will say to you, hey, I saw what you did that was great. Hey, I saw what you did that was great, and I appreciate it. And it's provided this value for our organization. Thank you. And then people want to come to work every day. And it's just want to come. And people.
Let's go back here again and punch in there because that's an emphasis once again.
Thank you. And then people want to come to work every day. And it's just simple action.
I think the wide's actually better there.
Thank you. And then people want to come to work every day. And it's just simple actions that you can take as a leader.
Nice. That's the second short I would have there. So I would export these, I'd go down the line, and the subtitles tell me where the shorts are, like whether they've been made, right? So I just go down, lather, rinse, repeat. Usually in an hour I get like 7 to 8 good shorts that pull out. Sometimes I have to rearrange them to make them work because they might be stumbling through a thought or an idea. So your guests do determine how much time you spend editing. If you have a great guest, this was a great guest. Every guest we've had has been really good on this show, but you will have instances where you're spending a lot more time trying to curate their speech so it flows well, and you'll have a lot more jump cuts, stuff like that. So that's kind of the full process. I haven't gone through and curated and polished this final one. I have to add the intro and outro slates. I tend to add a hook at the beginning and use this same transcript and ask for the hook and pull that out. That's something I tend to do. But that's how you use AI inside Davinci Resolve and outside of it and whatnot. But if this helped you, let me know. If not, it'll just be there in the void of all the AI slop that's currently being made. So thanks for watching this. I'll make another one sometime. Thanks.